Smile.
Happy school board.
Blood sugar you sandwich.
I bet they will too.
Okay, 6:30. Go ahead and call the meeting order. I want to welcome all of our guests. Nice to see a crowd here. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I can have a motion. I move to approve the agenda. Motion from Mark Baker. Second from Lori. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is open forum. We have one individual signed up. So Larry Hunt. Sir, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll take a step back, but I have a couple of questions. And I know I haven't attended too many boards lately, but having been on the board for 6 years and taught here for 31, and quite an experience with all this, I have a question. Why has the board members not asked questions about the bills in public? Not put Mrs. Smith on the spot, but make sure that you're paying attention. Even with 43% in reserves. Why do I ask this? 20 years ago, right about now, we were bleeding staff. Yeah, we just had gone through over $1 million worth of cuts. Because the board that was seated at that time had not asked questions of the superintendent at that time, Brian Kirk. There was questions that came to light after somebody finally did start asking questions about trips, about the school credit card, and many other things that had been done. We lost faculty. Our kids suffered. Every time that anybody that was employed by the school district by that time, every time we go and think about what our kids had to endure without all the things that they needed for school, doing without ones of us from there, we had our salaries frozen for a long time, so that's impacted us the rest of our life. So I implore you all, I don't care who the superintendent is, look at the bills. I question the bills. I don't mean to come to the board meeting and ask a question like that. If you have a question about something, a new acronym, go to Mrs. Smith or to Bobby, next, the new superintendent, and ask what that acronym and why the money was spent in that situation. Number two, another question: why hasn't there been more open discussion about whatever topics have been on the agenda in public? Some of us have not been here. Fill us in. Find out what's going on, because the money is here now, and if you haven't figured out by now, it's here today and gone tomorrow. Because the state is very fickle about what happens. So please do that, and don't ever let it get to that point, because we were on bended knee wondering whether we had kids come to school and ask, are we going to end up in living in with Chamois, our district, or Fathom? What's going to happen to us? So please, spending a lot of money now, make sure you spend it on the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of the regular open session minutes for February 15th. There's a list of items that are going to go up for surplus and approval of the senior trip from April 10th to 12th to Branson, Silver City area.
I do have senior class officers here. They can introduce themselves if you have questions on the senior trip. They'll take any questions.
I think the letter was pretty explanatory myself. Did a good job with that.
Is that where we typically go, Branson?
Now they,
No, they've gone to different places.
Trying to remember where they flew last year. Where
That's where they did the
They did
same
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 thing.
trip.
Where you guys staying?
Stillwater. So yeah, we're gonna spend a day on the resort because they have like things on the lake and they have like mini golf course that we can go do and stuff like that.
Then a day at Silver Dollar City.
Mhm.
Somewhere, right?
Yep.
Very good. Everybody been to Silver Dollar City multiple times or never been? Never been?
Never been? Oh, there you go.
All right, well, good.
Be fun.
One thing on the surplus list, I just want to make sure you all had seen is that Mr. J. Hughes has asked to surplus the bleachers that are up by the weight room.
I had a question about that.
Okay.
If that's approved, where are those 250 people gonna sit at graduation?
On the other side, I mean, from what they've told me, those bleachers have not been pulled out in 5 years.
I beg to differ. My
That's what they
family
told
sat
me.
there last year at
That's what
graduation.
they've told me. So
Why are we getting rid of the bleachers?
to make an extra classroom upstairs for, so we can have health class upstairs, PD class. Because right now we have to split the gym with the high school and middle school, so they share the gym during the winter. So now, what we can do is we can put Coach Ross upstairs doing a yoga class or a stretch class, or even do health, because I was gonna bring Mrs. Moore up. So I have a female present, but the way our classroom is right now is it's downstairs
Mhm.
for 2 hours. So then she wouldn't defeats the purpose to bring it up. So those 2 hours, we could utilize that room for health room, and then the other 4, or other 5, we can utilize it for yoga class, stretching classes. So middle school and high school don't have to share the gym in the winter.
Did I miss something with the weight room then? Isn't that where that was at?
The weight room's going in the maintenance shed.
Oh, okay.
So how's that going?
I've kind of looked at it and I think another.
So where are the maintenance people going, I guess?
To the maintenance shed. I mean, there's a huge building back here that's full of everything that's on our surplus list. So we're getting rid of a bunch of surplus stuff that hasn't been touched in forever.
Really, most of what's on here, some of it was over here, but there are some things on there that's in that current maintenance shed. There are some things we're having to figure out where else to store some furniture and whatnot. We need, but that was the plan, was that they're gonna move to the maintenance shed that's behind the ag shop.
So will there be a weightlifting class during the day?
Yeah, right now we have 3. We have 2 high school classes and a middle school class. Next year, we have 7 weightlifting classes. Right now, the way they're doing it right now with the bleachers up there and the inadequate space, we can only put about 20 kids up there and house them all, and we still can't get them through. So like right now, we're trying to run track through there, and we can only run half the track team at a time, and half of them's out on the balcony area doing agility, those type of things, because there's not enough room. It's not a safe place for everyone to be there. So if we can spread them out, the maintenance shed will be able to put roughly 35 athletes and students in there for our classes. Right now, our classes that we have, 5th and 7th hour are too large, and we can't get everyone up there to lift. So with our middle school classes, we've had to split our middle school PE class / half weights, half PE, and they switch every other day because the whole class won't fit up.
So you're gonna have 35 kids in 7 different classes?
No, not necessarily. We'll have 35 athletes. Like right now, we have 26 track people and 18 people staying after school to lift, and they can't all stay up in the morning.
I guess I would say, I mean, our current weight area is not adequate. I mean, long term, I mean, it's a little bit embarrassing. We need to, whether it's move the bleachers out and keep weights up there, move the weight room out here. It's not, I look at it, it's not very functional space up there. And I kind of wondered that myself. Do we use those, how often do we use those bleachers up there? And
I
then-
know they are out at graduation.
They always are.
Yes.
I wasn't here. I was just asked when the last time it's out. And that's what they were told. It's there for basketball, where we use that area. That's where we've been using it for hospitality work, because they haven't pulled those out. We don't pull them out for basketball. They film up there and everything else.
So do we leave them on the surplus list or do we keep them?
I hate to get rid of them if we're still, if we, I mean, I know we only, I don't know, use them once a year, but you hate for someone not to be able to come to see a graduation. If that's the only time we're using them. I mean, that is kind of an important event that families want to come to.
And I think it'll be something you'd be sorry in down the road if we'd ever get to host basketball districts or anything like that. You're gonna wish you had those.
Be curious how many you could see in regular shows up there. Probably not as
You
many.
wouldn't be able to see.
Not as many. Yeah, I mean, long term, I think you can do some neat stuff. It's maybe like a hospitality area up there for eventually you get to a point where you have people that would want to do that. You serve a little bit of food up there or something like that and probably do some neat things. Haven't talked about it, but that was the thing that occurred to me, that was really not functional space up there. But we could do some things up there at some point in time. So.
Why don't we remove the bleachers from the surplus list for now and put it up for discussion at the next meeting? So there's a little more time to look at it.
That's fine.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the consent agenda with bleachers removed in the surplus list.
I move to approve the consent agenda, removing the bleachers from the surplus list.
Motion from Mark, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Naomi.
Do we put all that on gov deals or
Yeah.
is that what we do with our surplus?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where it goes. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Yeah, Ty, you got to, because of the minutes in there.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm saying,
6 and 1 abstention.
I forgot. I missed it.
Down here. Thank you, motion carries. Okay, approval of the transfer and payment of bills.
On the audit, I noticed, what was the bill for the audit? 15 or 16,000, somewhere in there.
For this payment.
And I know it's in the budget for next year, I think for 10, but was it a little higher just because of the back and forth that we had on that? Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
And did they charge us a little bit for him coming in person also?
okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy your trip. Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Any other questions about the budget or any of the billing? We're gonna have a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills.
Motion to approve the transfer of payments.
Motion from Lori. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second from Anna. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, motion carries. Reports, the elementary report. Tracy.
Good evening. Busy month is what this is all about, big busy month. Just some updates there on some things going on in reading. Our kindergarten, first and second grade class spent a lot of time building their tier one innovation, or I'm sorry, their tier one instruction in the classroom. And so now we're really focusing more on tier two, getting that piece up and going. So they have their RTI process in place, and that's exciting to watch. All the students in place according to their specific learning need at this point in the year, and are receiving instruction in that area. Dr. Brown has been modeling lessons, and our title staff has been great about videoing those. So we're building a video library so teachers can always go in and check out time that she's modeled different types of lessons. And so we're hoping that'll be helpful, not just to our current teachers, but sustainability over time, that people can always access those videos. She'll return next week to do some more data work and be in the classroom to support and model there again. Our evaluate data and reading showing significant growth in second grade and in third grade. And those are two areas that we're really concerned about going into this year. So as we watch that bubble of pandemic kids roll through, there's just areas that we're going to see difficulties. And so really excited to see the work that's happening in second and third grade and growth that we're seeing. Math, as we draw near, well, we're at the beginning of fourth quarter now, but math testing and just this last quarter, as many days as we missed with snow in February, we're just kind of in that place we can't get those days back. We're not moving math testing back any further. And so really trying to do whatever we can to hone in on exactly what the kids have missed, what they need in order to be prepared for math testing and for the next school year. So we're really taking a lot of time to look at our evaluate data right now, analyzing that, building small groups around that, and just trying to make sure that we are hitting those standards the kids have not received instruction on, or that they did not master when the instruction was given. So that's something teachers are working heavily on right now. And our evaluate data in math in February showed significant growth in third grade, fourth grade, fifth, and sixth. So we're real pleased with that. We're getting ready to take math or the evaluate again. So then we'll analyze that data and see what that's looking like to try to be as prepared as we can be for math. But the teachers are just on target with their work. They're so fixated on where the kids are in their standards, and the conversations are just really exciting, I have to say. Then we had Knowledge Bowl last week. Mrs. Everett, Mrs. Sig were sponsors of that this year. And so we took several teams over there. We took a third grade, fourth grade, fifth, and sixth grade team, and our third grade team took second place. So we were real proud of them, and it just was a really great event for everybody. So nice to be back in person and get to do that. So kids had a great time. Read Across America was also last week. Had some dress up days, and Mrs. Baker did some things in the library, and kids did things in the classrooms. Cafeteria did green eggs and ham on Friday, which is really fun to see their facial expressions when they saw that. But we talked a lot of them into giving it a try, and they thought it was just eggs. It was all good. Kindergarten roundup was a big deal last week, week before, I guess. I'm losing track of time, but we had kindergarten roundup, which was really successful, and then we followed that with kindergarten screening on the following Monday. So we had 41 students, incoming kindergartners, will be students, that we screened that day, and they ran that, I'm telling you, like clockwork. But the teachers were all in the library working and throughout the building, and just putting those kids through there. It was a fantastic day. Got a lot of positive comments from the teachers too. The kids coming in were really looking like a really great group of kids. So we had 41 that we screened that day, and we'll expect more typically later. 100 Day of School is tomorrow, so we're adding something in that's a little different. We always invite them to dress up and kind of have fun with that, but we're going to put in a progress parade. So all the kids have been making posters to show the things that they have made progress in over the last 100 days, and then they're going to march through the hall. We've got time for K1, 2, we've got time for 3 through 6. So there's a lot of talk today about all the things they're putting on their progress posters. Kind of a new fun thing the teachers were pretty excited about as well. PTO, they're just moving and shaking and getting so much done. Swings should be in. We've had the delay in shipping, but the swings, I actually just got a call on that to try to coordinate the drop off of that over the next couple of weeks. So they've got those arriving, and they're in the middle of the fundraiser they're doing right now, which was Otis Spunkmeyer, was due today. And so that we'll see how they did on that, but they're working really hard to try to get a structure for the lower playground. In particular, Massou's kids don't have a great structure to play on because they're so little. This structure would be a good for set for age 2 all the way up to age 12. So that's going to give them a really great place to play. That's what they're really fixated on right now. Chicks, we've got chicks hatching all around the building, kindergarten, first grade. Several have already, many have hatched, and then we'll have some other grades getting some in April. So that's always a fun thing for the kiddos. We appreciate the MU Extension Office because they were not going to be able to give us as many, and the teachers were very disappointed, and we talked to them about it, and she coordinated all and got them in here. So that's just a big deal with elementary. They really love watching those chicks hatch and play with those and just see that whole process. We had some special activities on Tuesday, the 2/22/22 special date that we had some trivia questions throughout the day. We stopped everything at 2:22 and did the Cupid Shuffle, which was a lot of fun upstairs and downstairs. Had some staff trivia going on and just trying to do fun things that the kids like and that the teachers like. Our second grade team won the trivia competition among the staff, so they're excited about getting 22 minutes extra on their lunch. So they're gonna, I think, try to run and grab some lunch tomorrow. So and lots of dates coming up here. Just a busy time of year. So many things happening. Any questions?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it a little bit. So the kids that were behind on the reading, is that getting better?
All things like that take time because what we're looking at is instead of just kind of general looking at, we have high kids, low kids, because we're digging in really deep with our dibbles and with our phonics experience to see where the problems are and then providing the just right instruction there. And so it all takes time, but yes, the growth has been fantastic. We just have a long way to go. It's just, they're pretty low. So it's been a struggle. And with those kids that with the pandemic and missing the end, when I look at the K-1-2s, that's tough. And then also, it wasn't just missed school, but families are having a hard time. People were struggling through that time. And so that, impacts kids. There were kids gone at different periods of time because they may have been home in quarantine. So there's just a lot of holes and gaps. So I think what's exciting is that we're providing just what they need. It's just that it's going to take a while to get that caught back up. But I see great progress and the teachers are excited about seeing growth because sometimes, you're teaching a group of kids and you're feeling like they're not growing, that becomes very defeating. Well, now they've got just right instruction in the area that they need it. We have the screeners to look and see if they're growing in those areas. If they're not, we change instruction. If they are, we stay the course. So it's good work and we'll get there.
All right,
We'll get there.
thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Tracy.
thank you.
High school, middle school report.
I just have a couple things to add. One, we actually dropped, where it said we're academic report, we actually dropped about 24% in Fs. Now we have 41 students with 2 or more instead of 58 students. So teachers are working really well on that. We've been kind of giving some incentives to the middle schoolers, reduced costs for they came to me, see if they could have a semi-formal dance. If I would provide the pizzas and stuff for them and a reduced price too. So we're trying to do that. I made a deal with them. If there's 10 or less students with Fs, then I will provide pizzas and stuff for them. So a lot of the student counselors and stuff, they're trying to help during our seminar times and stuff with that. And then just another extended thank you to OCICAT for bringing Tina Meyer in. She came in from the Meyer Foundation and talked about bullying and cyberbullying, and it really hit home with our students. Last week, we had a lot of students come in afterwards and said, wow, that was pretty moving. So still trying to build a culture in school, but it's getting a lot better. So you see a lot of leaderships from students, just like the students, seniors here. So we're moving in the right direction. I'll take any questions that you have.
Athletic report, right?
Just finished winter sports, took second in district, finished only the 500 season. Boys lost to Amelia in district play. Junior high volleyball is in full swing, about 2 weeks left in the season. It's a good quick season. They all have improvement as the season goes on, started off pretty low, but they also have some improvement. Then we have spring sports, baseball. We hosted Jamboree last night. Makes it a pretty late night for the boys, but they got the first game action in. They have 2 games this weekend, and it's pretty much full swing after that. Golf was still about a week and a half out from that first match, but they're practicing and getting ready for the season. Finally warming up for them to be out in the course again. Had a coach spell there for them. Finally, track, we got track starting up next week. We have 2 home meets next week, middle school on the 21st, high school on the 24th. Big home meet that starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or 1:15 exactly, is the week after on the 31st. We also have a lot of projects going on in case you can't see outside. Today they came and started working on the surfacing for runways for javelin and long jump, triple jump, and pole vault, along with doing some of those track repairs. So that now, B&H came in on Monday for the line for water at the track, and we've been in contact, and they've already started a little bit on the field. As the weather improves and the spring season starts, they will be back. So
Thank you. Thank you. Superintendent report.
I don't have a whole lot to add to mine, other than what's already on there. I do want to kind of just remind you that tomorrow is our pre-bid meeting for the elementary HVAC project at 10:30. So Corey will be here, as will the architects, and then anyone who wants to come and do a walkthrough for the pre-bid meeting. And then the actual bids are due March 22nd at 11. And our special board meeting to approve a bid is March 29th at 5:30. So that project is moving. They are scheduled to begin just as soon as school is out in May 23rd. They will begin in our office and just come this direction. The only other thing that I have, other than what's in my report, is I do have 2 presentations tonight. Since I never know if our outgoing board members are going to come in April or not, I just want to take a minute to present our token of appreciation to Ty Kramer. Ty's been on the board for 6 years, and this will be his last year with us. So and then we have another board member going off this year, and that is Dennis Ravagoni. And Dennis has been a board member with us for 9 years. And so his knowledge and presence will definitely be missed as well. I would drop it, so
Oh, I'll know.
I always feel like to put it back in before I go outside. And that's all I have.
Okay, moving on to discussion items. Approval of the 22-23 certified salary schedule and step increases.
At this point, the salary schedule, nothing has been put on the base. All I'm asking is that we go ahead and approve that our faculty and staff get their step increases for certified staff. Well, actually, overall, that will cost the district about $54,623, and that's for certified and non-certified to get their step increases. So as I said, at this point, nothing's been added to the base, but we have to approve the salary schedule so that we can do contracts. So first is certified, and then after that is classified. So we need a motion to approve the salary schedule and step increases.
I move that we approve the salary schedule and step increases.
Motion from Sean,
Second.
second from Ty. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Now we need a motion to approve the salary schedule for the classified staff.
I move to approve the 2022-23 classified staff salary schedule. Step increases.
Motion from Mark. Do I have a second? Second from Lori. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, that motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approve the Compass Therapy contract.
We are asking to approve a contract with a new company next year, Compass Therapy, for our occupational therapy and physical therapy services. This company would also provide speech and language therapy services during a maternity leave, so that we have that covered. This year, we have occupational therapy service through one company, physical therapy services through another company. So we're always dealing with multiple companies, and this would bring them all under one umbrella for approximately the same cost, if not a little bit less than what we're paying this year.
How much did we spend between the two companies that were the other two companies that we used for the same thing this year?
This year, we're on track to spend probably grand total $25,000.
How do we go about selecting Compass Therapy Solutions?
We solicited proposals from, of course, our current providers. This provider, we had reached out to another provider out of the St. Louis area. We also reached out to, it's not Therapy Source anymore, Peak. Yes,
Mhm.
here, because that's who we used to do our therapy with prior to this year. But when they switched hands, our contract got dropped, and so they did not submit a proposal for next year either. So this was by far the most attractive contract of what we received.
How many did you receive?
3.
Okay.
I would assume that that amount will vary depending on how many students are have IEPs.
Yes. Yes, like our occupational therapy bill is getting ready to drop because we're getting ready to dismiss, I think it's 8 kids from occupational therapy. So that will drop a little bit the rest of this year, but then next year starts and we may end up with more. So that does fluctuate. Now, our overall bill next year will be higher because we will have to pay for those speech services while Alex is on maternity leave. Services. So, and that was another thing that was attractive about this company, is they were the only company that could provide those services for us in person. Everyone else wanted to do our speech and language therapy services virtually, and that is not a good solution.
And there was no minimum we had to have. It was just hourly, whatever we
No.
need.
Right, just hourly.
Will it be, this might be a dumb question, but will they assign someone to us, or will they, will it just be whoever's available? Like, what consistency will they have?
No, it'll be the same. We will have the same occupational therapist and we will have the same physical therapist all the time. Now, we may have an occupational therapy assistant, which is okay. And then the occupational therapist themselves only comes every once in a while to oversee the assistant, or a physical therapy assistant, and the physical therapist only comes every once in a while to oversee. That's not uncommon. We have that same setup now, but it'll be a consistent person every time. It won't just be whoever's available that day.
Yeah, I need a motion. If y'all concur.
I'll make a motion to approve the Compass Therapy contract.
Motion from Naomi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from John. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item is summer school proposal.
We will have to do our summer school application in the next 6 weeks or so is usually when we do it. So we're asking for that to be approved. At this point, our summer school calendar is set to run May 24th to June 24th, Tuesday through Friday, as it has been in the past.
We approve the summer school schedule.
Okay, a motion for Sean,
I'll second.
second for Mark. Have a discussion, any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, motion carries. Next item on agenda, I guess I do one at a time. We have resignations. First resignation is from Diane Churchill, and she's not resigning her teacher position. She's only resigning as cheer coach. If I can have a motion to accept that resignation.
We accept Diane Churchill's resignation from cheer coach.
Second.
Second from Ty. Here, raise your right hand. 0. Motion carries. Next one, I have a resignation from Ken Tucker as a vocal music teacher effective the end of the school year. I can have a motion to accept his resignation.
I make a motion to accept Ken Tucker's resignation.
Motion Ty, second. Second from Mark. All in favor, raise your right hand. Next, I have a resignation from Emma Childers, middle school science teacher. Motion to accept her resignation.
I move to accept Emma Childers' resignation.
Motion from Mark, do I have a second? Second from Lori. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, that motion carries. I have retirement for Sally Schneiders, who will retire on May 19th. I need a motion to accept her retirement.
Move that we accept Sally's retirement.
John. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mark. Raise your right hand. And I have a motion for a resignation from Billy Garrett. Motion to accept his resignation.
I'll make a motion to accept Billy Garrett's resignation.
You made a motion, Naomi.
Second.
Second from Ty. All in favor, raise your right hand. Lloyd, thank you for that for our school. Moving on, item 7.6, approval of the 21-22 budget amendment.
You all have a copy of that in your folder. There really aren't a whole lot of revisions. We're just revising basically revenues as they are coming in to make sure that we're getting the most recent projections. Salaries the same way. We had some support staff changes, so I changed those to reflect current personnel. And again, amended some budget amounts to reflect what we're likely to spend. At this time, at probably the May board meeting, I'm planning to ask to move $238,709 from Fund 1 to Fund 4 so that you can start the year with a healthy balance in Fund 4 for capital projects next year. So not a whole lot of revisions, just honing in on those expenditures and revenues a little more closely.
Are we gonna need that transfer potentially just to cover the HVAC project?
There's enough in this year's budget to cover the HVAC project, but I'm trying to set the district up in a good enough position in Fund 4 over the next year or two to do the track project. And then at some point, I know grandstands is on the horizon for football, possible announcers booth. So that money's got to be in Fund 4 to do that.
Did we get all of the
federal ESSER money in already for this current fiscal year? Do we have anything else coming for that?
We have more coming this year, but it's all been budgeted. We just haven't actually received it in hand yet.
Gotcha.
We can only request it as we spend it. And so we haven't actually received it all, but it's all in the budget. And that's all of ESSER one money was spent last year. All of ESSER two should be spent this year. So the ESSER three will be available for the next 2 years.
Need a motion to approve the amended budget for 21-22?
I had a question about an item on there under just the way it was worded. On page 18 or Board of Education expenses, there's a line that says prior year expenses. What would that be?
So every year we have prior year adjustments that come in from DESI. And that's typically where that line item goes. We also had some prior year, we got notified by the IRS that we owed some prior year taxes. So that's where that money goes as well.
Okay.
Prior year taxes, is that a surprise or is that pretty normal?
It's not really a surprise. I mean, it's not unusual to get that.
The other thing is just amending the budget for now. We have to have a final budget that come due in before the end of the fiscal year.
I move that we accept the current year budget amendments as presented.
Motion from Sean, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Linda. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, budget is amended. 7.7, discuss 22-23 preliminary budget.
Again, you all have a copy of the preliminary budget document in your folder. I wanted to go over a few things with what we voted on to increase the district paid portion of insurance. That's about a $14,681 cost to the district. The steps that we just approved for certified and non-certified, you can see the total amount there. To give the administrators a step increase, it would cost the district about $1,777. We have some teachers expected to move across on the salary schedule because they're getting more hours. So that's projected to increase a little over $11,000. If we put $500 on the base, it cost the district a little over, well, almost $51,000. And then to do that for those not on the salary schedule would cost $2,684. Again, to give a comparable raise to your admin, it'd be $1,777. The other thing that we are facing is minimum wage continues to go up. And so next January, it will go up to $12.02 an hour, I think is what it is. If we don't keep that para pay at minimum wage, we can't get applicants. So to keep that para pay at minimum wage is going to cost about $8,138. We need a new third grade teacher next year because our second grade numbers are so high that we need 3 third grades next year. So that's going to add, if it's a brand new first year teacher, it will add $46,339.08 to the budget. The new superintendent is going to cost the district about $41,801 more than the current superintendent. So the increase to the budget to fully fund the salary schedule right now looks to be about $222,666.08. I know it's been said many times that we get about $100,000 a year increase revenue through taxes. And that's true. But as you can see, that doesn't even fund the additions to your salary schedule. With adding in football expenses next year of $35,000, if we do all of that, and again, this is preliminary, but that puts the district deficit spending about $99,000. Now, you have ESSER money coming in, so for the next couple of years, it will be fine. But this has to be sustained after that. And I will tell you, I'm having a hard time only giving the teachers a $500 on the base raise when the superintendent position got a 37% raise. So I'm probably going to recommend at least $1,000 on the base, and you guys can decide what to do with that. But they're just as important as anybody. But that is going to put us deficit spending a little bit more. Some other considerations that we need to be thinking about for the future. If minimum teacher salary increases to $35,000, that's going to add another $81,226 to the budget. That is only if we take teachers to that level. That's not giving a comparable raise to support staff or staff not on the salary schedule. The governor's goal is to get it to $38,000. Well, if we do that, that adds $284,291 to our salary schedule. And again, that's not giving comparable raises to support staff and staff not on the salary schedule. There's been a lot of talk about how that's going to be 70% funded. What people don't understand is that 70% funding is only taking those people who are not at 38,000 and raising them to 38,000. So I did a preliminary calculation the other day on what we would get based on where we are right now. And with 70% funding, we'd get about $36,000. So you're still looking at $250,000 to get your salary schedule to $38,000. So that's something to be thinking about. I don't know if steps will have to be compressed. I don't know. And then, as I mentioned, if I transfer from Fund 1 to Fund 4 this year, what I planned, it'll take our fund balances to around 37%. Next year, there's a planned transfer in the preliminary budget of $198,433, and that would set the district up to have around $340,000 in Fund 4. And again, that sets you up for a track project and whatever other project you decide to do. If we do that and deficit spend $99,000, our fund balances will drop to around 29% by the end of next year. Again, you'll have ESSER money, so will that happen? No, it won't, because you'll have ESSER money to shore up the budget for the next 2 years. But there are some, starting next year, for the first year since I've been here, you will start funding recurring expenses with non-recurring money. So that's a little bit concerning. We are planning to use ESSER 3 funds for these expenses for next year. The high school wants new textbooks for science and geometry, which will cost around $30,000. We need to purchase around 50 new Chromebooks just to keep up with our rotation, which is around $15,000. We would like to go 1-to-1 all the way through first grade because they're using the heck out of their Chromebooks. So that's another $9,600. In order to help with some of those reading gaps and math gaps that Mrs. Kingsley was talking about. Plus, we need another part-time special ed teacher. So we would like to do a part-time special ed teacher, part-time intervention teacher. Again, that's estimated there, and that's with a first-year teacher salary. Mrs. Kingsley and I have talked about that. She understands that that's a 2-year position that likely will go away after ESSER money is gone. But at least in those 2 years, we can help raise some of those kids up where they need to be. We have furniture needs estimated about $7,000, special ed resources about $10,000. So the estimated additional cost out of ESSER money is about $117,939.08. We get about $700,000 in ESSER money. So again, that will help shore up the budget for the next couple of years. But I just feel like you need to be aware that for the first time, we're gonna take recurring expenses out of non-recurring money.
Any questions, comments?
I looked a while back, I don't know if it was the December or November meeting, and the last time we kind of discussed the ESSER funds, there were a couple other grants that you had on that list. The teacher recruitment grant and, well, there were both different types of teacher recruitment grants. What's the status on those, or? Are
We have
successful?
received both of those. They will not be used until next year. So both of those, and no ESSER money at all is in this preliminary budget, because I wanted you guys to be able to see where we are without any ESSER money. But we have received approval for both of those. Our application has been approved, our budget application has been approved, so they're all set to go, but they won't go into effect. We could use them this year, but what our plans for them are, it's better to just wait and start at the beginning of the year. So those will go in for next year as well.
You mentioned that we needed to add another third grade teacher. Did we add a second grade teacher last year? And do we still need an extra second grade teacher next year?
We do. We added a third, second grade teacher last year because we wanted to keep those class sizes small in order to be able to help them progress. Well, lo and behold, we had all these transfers in second grade this year. And so it's a good thing we added a third, second grade position this year, because if not, we'd have been adding one as school started. So that's why we need a third grade position. But our kindergarten classes and our first grade classes are both big enough that they need 3 teachers as well. So we're looking at 3 teachers in grades K1, 2, and 3 next year.
One other thing I'll comment on is that in our current year that we're in right now, we have over 600,000 that's budgeted for capital improvement projects for the HVAC, for the roof, for things of that nature. We have another 400,000 budgeted next year for the track potentially. So we haven't actually put the budget for the track in there, but we have the transfers from our regular fund 1 to that. So in a normal year, if we're not spending 400,000 on a track or 600,000 on our roof or an HVAC, we're not going to be deficit spending. I mean, we will have ESSER money to cover some of those one-time costs. And I don't know how many of those other types of capital expenditures we should be planning on for future years, but hopefully if we spend $1 million on all of those things this year and next year, that we should be maybe good for just a little bit.
I don't think so. The parking lot needs redone again, at least the front side of the parking lot. So that's an issue. Again, I think that between the grandstands that are needed for football and the announcer's booth that's needed for football, that's an expense, an expense that we're going to have. I would have to look back at all of we needing cafeteria tables in the elementary. I mean, there's a pretty good list of things that I think are going to cost the district some money in capital improvements for the next 5 years.
So one big thing that's been put off a couple times now is air conditioning in the field house.
Right.
I don't remember what the figure was. Checked out a couple years ago.
I'm sure it's double whatever it was.
Yeah, I was saying,
Yeah,
it was 200, but I'm sure
Yeah.
it's probably 400 now.
You know, one thing I've noticed is I looked at your preliminary budget for this year, then I looked at your most recent adjustment. It looked like we went up about 5%. So your budget for this year looks like you budgeted 2%, which is fairly conservative. So there's, assuming that property values continue to go up, there's potential to pick up at maybe another, it looked to me like if what happened last year continued this year, another 56,000, would that be?
Potentially, and property taxes, what's not in the preliminary budget is because our kids are free, are all free right now. 2 things are happening. One, we're getting a lot more money in food service revenue than we are when we're not all free lunches. So if they don't go free lunches next year, we're going to lose a pretty hefty amount in food service revenue. The other thing that's happening is that because everyone's getting free lunches, they're not filling out their free and reduced lunch forms. So we're about 62 kids less on free and reduced lunch forms this year, which the impact then to our revenue just for that is about $35,000 to the negative. So what we might pick up in tax revenue, I'm afraid we're gonna lose because of the free and reduced lunch issue. And so that's why I was pretty conservative on the tax part.
So how does that, explain that to me one more time so I have a better handle on it?
So on our formula, there is a modifier for free and reduced lunch.
Okay. Was that you moved the number from whatever it was, 7 to 6% or 6 to 5? That was a different line. That was the adjustment of WADA. whatever
Weighted
that-
average
the
daily
weighted
attendance,
average.
yeah.
Okay.
And
You
so
adjusted that down. So is that something else altogether
Yes.
different?
it is.
Okay.
And that adjusts down because that is based on our attendance. It's based on our summer school numbers. But there's a modifier and there's a modifier in there for your special ed count. There's a modifier in there for free and reduced lunch, and there's a modifier in there for limited English proficient kids. That one,
Is that all in that line or is that multiple lines?
that's all in your formula.
It's all in that. Okay, it was all in that percentage. Okay, that's what I thought.
But
Okay.
what's not in the preliminary budget, because I just looked at our free and reduced lunch numbers the other day, is the fact that we dropped 61 kids in free and reduced lunch approvals. And so that's going to negatively impact our budget by about $35,000.
That's because the kids, if they felt they actually qualify, they just didn't fill out the forms.
Right, because everybody's getting free lunches this year, parents aren't filling out the forms like they normally do, okay?
So there'll be a 1-year lag on that. I mean, we'll see that and then next year when they start having to pay again the following year, then they'll probably
Yeah.
fill out the form again.
Yes,
So
but then we're gonna lose quite a bit of revenue because we get paid more revenue by the fact that everybody gets free lunches.
Okay.
So
So hopefully
yes,
that's a
we'll
1-year.
gain, but we're gonna lose revenue because we're not
Okay.
gonna make as much.
But then we'll pick it back up the following year potentially. When the 62 families say, hey, I want free lunch again.
We'll pick up about that 35,000 again, but we'll
Okay.
lose more than 35,000 because not everybody will be getting free lunches.
Okay.
Our reimbursement rate through the state for free lunches is almost double what we get on a paid lunch kit.
Okay.
So we're making quite a bit more with everybody getting free lunches than we will when they go back to tax.
Is that something that we can ask parents to review or
What's that?
they're
To fill out the form.
fill out the paperwork?
We have over and over and over. You know, just in society as a whole right now, there's kind of this feel of what do they need to know that information for? And so if they're not getting anything for it, they're hesitant to give us all this personal information. And right now they don't have to because they're getting free lunches anyway. So they're just not filling it out.
I'll tell you, we ask every parent
Okay.
when they register to fill that out and explain why. So if you're not
And we-
going with mine,
Sure.
you know, we really do, so.
And we've done it at open house, and we've done it.
What's the expectation? Do we have any idea if they're going to extend that into the year? I mean, has there been any talk? or-
There's always scuttlebutt, but nobody knows for sure because that comes down from the federal government. So nobody really knows.
What's the drop dead date on adding to the salary? I mean, if we'd had 500 to base, what's the drop dead date? Like we did this last year and we put it off a month. I remember doing that.
Last year we did it in June.
Okay,
I mean, you have to adopt a budget before July 1st, so I would think June would be the latest you would want to do that.
I remember our discussion was, I mean, you recommended 500. We put 1,000 on knowing that it would pretty well wipe us out for the year. But I think we also said, well, if we can't do it again next year, we can't do it again next year. So at least we gave it a shot last year, but I see where we're gonna run into a problem this upcoming year.
I just think you need to be prepared, because if I heard it once, I've heard it 100 times, that the superintendent position got a 37% increase. So your teachers and your support staff and your administrators.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I also know the realities of things too, and that's a tough one.
Reality is you need to have teachers. If you have a bunch of turnover, my youngest kid had a new English teacher every year from the time she was in 7th grade till she was a senior. You've got to pay the people to keep.
And we definitely we made up some ground last year, and we did better than most districts in the area did last year. And we are we're in the top 3/4 for schools our size for teacher pay. I don't think we're doing as bad as some
We
folks
were
would
for
think we are.
superintendent pay too.
Move on to announcements. There'll be a special board meeting on March 29th at 5:30. That will be for the HVAC project. And the next regular board meeting will be for April 19th. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I make a motion that the board go to closed session in 610.021. RSMO 11.1, approve a closed session minutes. 11.2, discussion of personnel matters. Section 610.021, legal. 3, personnel, and 13, personal records, RSMO. And 11.3, student .06.
Have a motion from Ty. Do I have a second? Second from Lori. Roll call vote. Mark,
Yes.
Lori, Howard,
Yes.
Naomi,
Yes.
Ty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.